Welcome to Learning Life Skills Together. This is our weekly community Zoom meeting where our guests help us to go deeper into the 4 life skills and open up a huge array of chances to practice them. Welcome, everyone, to our weekly community meeting number 21 with Chelsea Melrath. And so we're going to be speaking with Chelsea in a little bit, but as always, we start with a practice to sort of bring us into a place where we can really listen and take things in. So we've been working with attention practices because we've been focused on the main skill of attention. And I want to move us tonight a little bit into a practice of emotion regulation. So we've talked about many times how our breath helps us to, come into a little more balance. And so there's another thing that's just as close as our breath, and that's gravity. And so what I want to sort of experiment with tonight is allowing gravity to hold us. Now, the reason this is helpful for emotion regulation is that it's grounding, for one thing. We all like to be grounded, and sort of another word for balance would be to be grounded. And it's right there, the earth, it's pulling us down. And the other thing is that when we're in an emotional state, we've got a particular way that we hold our body, right? When we're anxious or nervous or whatever you want to call it, we're tense, we're tight, and our face is set in a certain way. People can often see what's happening with us. They can often see that. So we're not like pushing away the emotion. We're actually paying attention to gravity to make way for whatever else might show up. So I want to make sure that we understand that, because that's pushing away emotions is not what we do. We acknowledge them and then we work with them. And so we're going to explore making some space in our bodies for a different way of feeling. So you might notice right now how you feel, what's going on with you, where you're at. And if you like, you can close your eyes. Some people feel like it's easier to get in touch with what's going on with them when their eyes are closed, but that's not really necessary. And so just right now, you could feel the fact that gravity is holding you where you are. Maybe you're standing up and you feel gravity through your feet. Maybe you're sitting down and you feel your back and your buttocks and your thighs against the chair, and realizing that you're being held. So the deal is, if gravity is holding you, there's not really a lot of effort that you need to put forth to be where you are. So you could just allow yourself to be held. Maybe feeling the chair beneath you and allowing yourself to settle into it. Maybe your legs can do a little settling. Maybe you notice where your arms are. And maybe there's some effort in your arms. What happens if you let go of that effort? Just letting gravity do its thing, do what it does for you. And those muscles of your face, we're always working them. They're always busy expressing what's happening within us. So maybe for just now, you could let those muscles follow gravity. Just let them sink, settle, be held. The same thing with your jaw. So maybe your jaw can just drop down a little bit. The jaw follows gravity. The facial muscles follow gravity. Your shoulders, arms, just allowing themselves to be held. And the whole body right where it is, sitting or standing, just letting it be held. And if your eyes have been closed, you might think about opening them and then open them when you're ready. And just noticing how it is for you right now. Is it the same or different from when we started? So, so this is recorded and we can't listen to our audience tonight, but I do have one person in my audience, and that's Chelsea. And so, Chelsea, I'm going to ask you, how is it for you right now? What did you find out?
Well, hi, Don, and hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here tonight, Don. That felt amazing. I think your voice is just so calming and soothing. And so that definitely helped me focus. But I think, it's so easy to get caught up in life and everything that we have going on. And we just sometimes don't pay enough attention to what's going on in our bodies and how we are feeling. And just taking that time to center and kind of balance, it feels refreshing, I would
Ah,
say.
okay. Refreshing. Good word.
Yeah,
I like that. And that's sort of related to what we're going to be talking about tonight,
absolutely.
which is resilience. So I want to introduce Chelsea to everyone. And Chelsea has been the coordinator of the Chester County ACEs, ACE, which stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences Coalition, since 2016 and is a contracted trauma specialist with Chester County Health Department. She has more than 15 years of experience in working with families facing mental health concerns, homelessness, poverty, domestic violence, and other crises. She understands the impact that trauma has on people's health as well as the health of the community. And so, you have a lot of very serious experience in this area. And your focus with the coalition is resilience and
Yes.
actually prevention.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So we do a lot of raising awareness, education, and understanding all around how trauma and toxic stress and adverse childhood experiences, how that really impacts not only our mental health, but our physical health as well. But absolutely, we also devote a lot of our time and attention on prevention strategies and trying to give people tools and tips on how to build resilience, recognizing that just because we've experienced trauma doesn't necessarily mean that we're doomed, that we can heal.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's really important for us to really, raise that awareness and education around our county because so many people, if not everyone, have experienced some sort of trauma or stress in their lives.
Yeah.
And so it's so common, and we just need to understand what that's doing to our brains and our bodies, but also how we can heal.
Yeah. So let's sort of take it from the top, so to speak, and say let's say prevention is really what we're after, and that's
Yeah.
also, the driving force behind learning life skills together. So could you talk a little bit about prevention for us as a strategy and what we hope that it will bring? And and,
Sure.
and you can be specific to Chester County.
So we have definitely taken kind of this public health approach. We are the Chester County ACEs Coalition is a program that is actually managed and under our Chester County Health Department, which is really incredible. So we take a more public health approach, and one of these approaches, one of the kind of aspects of this public health approach is really devoted in prevention and really trying to focus on how can we prevent ACEs and trauma from happening in the lives of residents here in Chester County. And so, we do that in a variety of different ways. I think the first thing that we do is really raise education, raise the awareness. One of the co-investigators of the original ACEs study, Dr. Robert Anda, he says, what's predictable is preventable. And we
Mm,
know from the original ACEs study that kids who experience a lot of stress and trauma in their childhoods, they have a higher risk later on in their adult lives to develop some very negative health outcomes and consequences because of the stress and the trauma that they've suffered. And so I think it's really, really critical that if we know this information, what can we do to kind of prevent some of those ACEs and traumas from happening? So we do a lot of education, every single one of our trainings that we host throughout the county. Any one of our events, our workshops, our community meetings, anything that we're doing for the public, we are always trying to focus that on prevention strategies. And, some of the prevention strategies that the CDC or the Center for Disease Control lists as far as preventing ACEs and traumas from happening in the lives of kids here in Chester County, some things that they say is that, we really need to focus on ensuring a really strong start for children. So making sure that kids have quality education early on in life. So how can
mm.
we help support programs that are doing just that? Other things are, and this, works hand in hand with learning life skills together. But the other strategy is enhancing skills to help parents and youth handle stress,
Right.
manage emotions, and tackle everyday challenges. And so, again, that's one of the reasons why we love this program so much because that's exactly what you guys are doing. You're giving parents and carers and guardians the tools that they need to help kind of parent some of or help enhance some of those parenting skills. we
Yeah.
didn't we didn't come with a guidebook or a manual when we became parents and said, this is how you become a really great parent and this is how you're going to raise really successful and thriving children, right? Like there's
Yeah.
nothing out there for us. um,
Yeah.
so how can we support and really enhance and provide this program to parents and carers and guardians out in our community that are really strengthening those skills? And
Yeah.
so we love supporting programs like learning life skills together. And another aspect of prevention, too, is making sure that kids are connected with caring adults and activities, things to
Right.
do. And
Yeah.
again, another pillar of learning life skills together is really making sure that carers and guardians are doing some of these activities with kids, and really building upon those relationships. And so, yeah, I think we focus a lot on prevention in everything that we do because we think obviously that's such a huge part of
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
work.
So, you're talking, working, doing workshops with the parents. And,
Yeah.
and so, for our program, the parents are the key.
Mhm.
And even if they don't do the things that we're suggesting with their kids, if they're doing them for themselves,
Hmm.
they're still, you know, doing that prevention thing. They're changing how it is in the house. They're changing how
Absolutely.
things work for the kids and sort of skewing it a little more towards a calm, centered kind of place where the kids can express themselves safely and
Yes.
know what's going to happen and know how things are going to be. So,
Yes, absolutely. All of our programming, our trainings, we host film screenings, workshops, um, everything that we do is providing some sort of skill for all of the participants. And so we definitely kind of want to capitalize on that a little bit in our trainings. We want to make sure that all of the participants are walking away with knowledge, but also strategies, like hands-on
yeah,
strategies, what
yeah,
to use in these certain circumstances. And so we always think, before we host any kind of training, like what can we make sure that the participants are walking away with, and what is next for them? What can they do? And so we really make sure that our trainings give them tools to be able to say, yeah, this is how you can build resilience. This is how you can prevent ACEs and traumas from happening in our community. I do want to mention that I think it's really important that, am I saying that we are going to prevent all ACEs and traumas
yeah,
from I mean, I would be very naive, I think, if I said if I
yeah,
said that. I unfortunately, I don't think that that's going to happen. Kids are going to experience stress, and families are going to experience challenging times. And honestly, they're going to experience traumas. It's just inevitable. It's a part of life, right?
yeah,
But there are also things that we can do that can help with lessening the impact of trauma on the lives, especially of kids. And there are things that we can really implement, and that's what we call positive childhood experiences, which is kind
mm,
of like the opposite
right. The
of
opposite of, yeah,
adverse childhood
yeah,
experiences, right? And so those things can be very helpful as well, really increasing some of these positive childhood experiences um,
right.
in children's lives.
Yeah. And so again, as you were saying, the activities that we're suggesting really bring those things to the fore.
Oh, yeah.
It's let's go outside, however it is that we can do that and experience nature. Let's experience something beautiful together, you know, and talk about it and talk about how we feel. And yeah.
And that's one thing that I really love about this program as well is that, we know that families, they have a lot going on. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of different challenges that families in Chester County are experiencing. In the work that I have done in direct service, I have, like you had mentioned in my bio, right? I have seen a lot of crises that are happening
Yeah.
here in Chester County with families. It's very real and it's so difficult, and it can really be challenging because um, families are just trying to get through that crisis, right? Like they are just trying to get through to the next day sometimes, and they're just trying to
Yeah.
make it there. They can't really see the forest beyond the trees. But with this program, it breaks it down into easy, very, very, very simple things that don't require money, right? Like, you don't
Right.
necessarily have to have a ton of money to be able to do these things. You don't need to have a ton of time to be able to do some of these things. You just kind of have to have this willingness to want to create these connections, experiences, uh, with the kids in your lives, making this a priority to recognize that, yeah, I may be going through a lot of stress right now. But if I can utilize some of these skills for myself and for my kids, it is going to really, really strengthen that family unit and help them get through that next stressor or trauma or
Yeah.
adversity that they may be challenged with.
Yeah, that's really what we're trying to get out there is that if you can stop for 5 minutes and do like what we did right now, just feel the fact that gravity can hold you. You can all sit on the couch together
Yeah.
and just feel yourself being held and know that your body can relax.
Hmm.
That changes something. That shifts something.
It does.
And yeah.
And even the simplest things. So for instance, I love your bird watching
Hmm.
strategy and example because I think as I'm getting a little older, I'm enjoying watching, nature and
Yeah.
everything. And recently we put a little bird feeder outside my kitchen window. And I always look for the cardinals because those are my favorite. I feel,
Hmm.
there's a saying, angels appear when cardinals are near. So I feel like,
Oh,
these are
yes.
signs, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm always looking for the cardinals. And now I have my son looking for the cardinals. My son's 8 years old. And
Hmm.
so, sometimes we'll see the cardinals at the bird feeder and we'll just sit there for a few minutes and watch them. And it's a really great opportunity also for us to talk about some of the people that we've lost in our lives.
Yeah.
Some of the people who are no longer here, who maybe him and I have had connections with. One specifically is with my father. And so I always say, like, that's your pappy watching you. And we
Yeah.
get to kind of reminisce and talk a little bit about that. And again, just providing that connection piece in those little moments is just so
Yeah.
key. It is so
Yeah.
key and important.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And we can
And
often miss that, I think, because of everything that we have going on, right? The hustle and the bustle and everything happening around us. Sometimes we miss those very precious moments.
we step right over the pleasant things that are available to us, we really do. And that's kind of how I look at that positive childhood experience idea is that, there are positive things, or
Yeah.
I like to think of it as pleasant things happening all the time, because there are pleasant things and there are unpleasant things.
Yeah.
And so we're really, we're like built as an animal to notice the unpleasant so that we can get away from it
Right.
and and live to do whatever it is that we do another day, right? So we're not immediately built to say, "Oh, that's really pleasant. Look at those birds at the feeder right now." We can just easily walk right by,
Absolutely.
or listen to what the birds are
Mhm.
saying to us, you know, for 10 seconds. It actually has an effect on us just to do that. So, that the whole um, positive psychology idea of just sort of listing all the positives, all the pleasant things that are happening. We can just be doing that in the background, picking them
Absolutely.
up, picking them up. And we need to be paying attention. And that's why
And it's hard
that's
to
our
do
number
that.
one thing that we try to get people to do.
It is
Yeah,
hard to really
it
focus and
is.
pay attention, like I said, in this hustle and bustle of the everyday lives for so many of us. And we have so much going on. But I love that you mentioned the positive childhood experiences again, Don, because I think it's really important that I think we talk a little bit about that because it all was derived from a study that was done in 2019 by Johns Hopkins University, and they essentially said there are these 7 things that we can do for children, um, And it will contribute to a positive um, mental health in their adult lives.
Mm,
These are adults, the kids who have more positive childhood experiences in their childhoods actually feel like they can seek help when they're adults if they are experiencing any sort of mental health symptom. So they feel like they are able
mm.
to reach out for that help. And that I think is
Yeah,
huge in itself.
it is huge.
But some of these positive childhood experiences are things that we can do in our homes for our kids. So, for instance, one of them is really being able to talk to your family about your feelings, right? So, having kids be able to have these conversations with the parents and guardians that are in their homes to say, I feel sad. I feel upset. I feel angry, or
Yeah,
whatever the case may be. They can talk
yeah.
about their feelings openly, honestly. So that's one thing that we can really like cultivate is this relationship where they feel like it's okay for them to come.
That that's it, is building up vocabulary is how we've
Yeah,
been talking about it. Getting the words for how you feel. And so that comes from one, the child being able to pay attention to how, what's actually happening.
right.
Oh, it feels kind of tight, or it feels fluttery, or, whatever they want to say. And then, the parent, the carer can say, honey, I think you're feeling nervous right now, anxious, or,
Yep.
whatever you want to be. And so then they have a way of expressing, oh,
Yes.
oh, I'm scared right now.
Yes.
And as I like to say, because this goes way back in our podcasts. We were talking with an early childhood educator who had
Mm.
been working specifically on this idea of what do I feel, and then what's the word for it. And
Yeah.
she
How do
said,
you
so,
identify it?
and how,
Yeah.
yeah, how do I say this? And
Yeah.
so a little girl, I think it was, maybe not, three, three or so, was able to say to her carer in the store, I'm feeling really scared right.
Oh,
And so that avoided, sort of the whole meltdown thing that can happen when you're out and about and the kid, is feeling something but doesn't know how to say it and doesn't know how to ask for what it is that they need.
and
Suddenly, with that little tiny piece of vocabulary and that little connection to what's going on inside them, boom,
yes.
the whole thing changes for everybody. The
Yep.
people in the line at the Acme have
And
a
I also
different
think
experience.
I think it's important that we also think about this as adults too, because there's so many times that us as adults, we need to really work on this skill.
Yes, we
Like
do.
there are times where it is hard to really describe what is going on, right? Like
Yeah.
what is happening in your brain, in your life, in your body, like what are you really feeling?
Yes.
And
Yeah,
so I think as adults, we really need to model this skill as well
we do.
to our kids so that they can see, you know what? Like, I don't know, mommy's having a hard time right now, and I'm
Yeah.
feeling a little upset and I'm feeling a little bit angry, but not really sure why, and
Yeah.
modeling that to them, it's okay.
Yeah. No, it's perfect. It's exactly what needs to be happening. Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing, Don, that we can do, we need to make sure that kids feel supported and okay and safe when their family is going through difficult times.
Yeah.
Because like I had mentioned, all of our family, we all are going to experience some sort of stress or adversity or challenge. This is what we call life. It is not that
Yeah.
easy all the time.
Yeah.
Um, and we need to make sure that our kids know that it's okay. We're still supporting them. We're still here for them. They are still safe at home, and they're protected. And those are actually two of these positive childhood experiences: is making sure
Yeah.
that family they feel supported by family during difficult times, as well as feeling safe and protected by adults at home. So again, some really key skills that we could be honing in on
Yeah.
at home with our kids, that's really going to lessen the impact of the stress and the trauma that they may already have experienced in their little short lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And so I think that leads us into this idea of resilience that I sort of announced at the beginning. And so I wanted you to talk about that.
Yeah. So, resilience, again, it's something that we focus on in every single training, every single workshop, event, radio show. We also have a radio show. We focus a lot on, how can we build resilience in not only the lives of kids, but in adults as well. And we know that, essentially what resilience is the ability to bounce back in the face of stress or trauma or adversity or tragedy, these difficult things that we are exposed to, or maybe that we're experiencing, how quickly do we bounce back from some of them, or even maybe just bounce forward, move forward, right? So,
Hmm.
how quickly can we do that? And I think um, there was this myth years ago that kids are just born with resilience, that you have like
Hmm.
this bucket of resilience, like that you're born with or something, that you have this amount of resilience. And that's just simply not the case.
Yeah.
Resilience is built, it's built over time. And um, a lot of the ways that kids can build their resilience is by seeing it being modeled by the people around them.
Yeah.
And so, again, this Learning Life Skills Together program is really helping families and specifically carers, think about ways that they can build their own resilience so that they can model that for their kids, so their kids can see, like, yeah, we've been through that difficult time, we've bounced back, and
Yeah.
we can move forward and we can heal despite the challenges that we're faced with. Um, so it's really, really important that,
Yeah.
and at really the basis of all of the resilience research, it goes back to having these positive, loving, caring, nurturing relationships with an adult in a child's life.
Yeah.
So that one adult can really make all of the difference. So, in a lot of the programs that we offer, we may be speaking to educators, teachers, coaches, faith-based organizations, people, in congregations, and we're talking to everyone, and we're saying there's a child in your life, right? And
Hmm.
you could
Yeah.
be that one person for that child. And so it's really critical that I think we think about, who are these kids that are in our lives, and are we the one person for them? What is the role that we play in their lives? And are we helping them with feeling loved and nurtured and supported and safe and protected?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one of the things that I'm hearing in all of what you just said is this idea of the adult talking about their own experience in a way that the child could understand. So,
Absolutely.
as you were demonstrating, here's how I'm feeling right now. Here's what's going on. Here's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
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 And
And
and so
even
and so it'll be all right and we'll be okay.
absolutely. And even admitting mistakes sometimes, right? Like we're all
Oh,
human.
totally.
We are all human.
Yes.
We are not perfect.
Yeah.
Um, sometimes we need to have a little bit of humility and to say, like, yeah, we made a mistake and we're learning from it,
Yeah.
and what a great way to model that to our
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah. A mistake with the child. Like,
Mhm.
I wish I hadn't said that. I'm
Right.
really sorry, honey.
Yes.
I was uh,
Yes.
a little angry, and so it got the better of me. So I'm sorry. Yeah,
Absolutely. And
that's
listen,
that's
we have
it.
all experienced
Yeah,
that as
we've all done
parents.
that. Yes.
We
Yes.
have, but it's,
But we don't
really
always get the other side.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, yeah, I think that's something that we really need to focus on. And also, I think that again, resilience will always go back to these healthy relationships and healthy connections. that we have in our lives. Every time that we talk about resilience, even to adults, we're talking to them about who are your supporters, who is your support system, your network around you, that when you are
Right.
challenged with a difficult experience or a time or some sort of maybe trauma, who's around you that's going to support you through that because it'll make all of the difference. So really recognizing that is critical. Also, taking care of yourself and finding time to practice that self-care is huge and it is critical. And I think we need to move away from this stigma that we have around self-care of, bubble baths and candles and massages. And if that's your version of self-care, that's amazing. Good for you. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of us that don't have those opportunities maybe
Right.
to be able to
Yeah.
do those extravagant kind of forms of self-care. And I think we need to really think, what is some of this self-care that I can do in every environment that I'm in, while I'm at work, when I'm in my car,
Yeah.
when I'm at home? How can I take care of myself so I feel that balance that you were talking about at the beginning of this podcast when we were
Yeah.
doing that mindfulness exercise? Like, how can I feel centered and grounded and balanced and not completely overwhelmed and stressed out? Right. So,
Yeah. These
taking
five
care.
minute things that you can do them for yourself and you can do them with the child. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Experience beauty. I always say, and this is a really simple one, go outside. If you're in the house or you're in the office, go outside, stand on the porch, stand on the sidewalk, and look at the sky.
Yeah.
Just look at the sky for a couple of minutes. It's ever changing. It's don't do it in a rainstorm like we're
Maybe.
having right now, but not a good idea to look up, but just look up and see and understand that you know there's beauty all around us. That's
Absolutely.
that it's we're stepping over again all those pleasant things that are actually already there
Yeah.
for us. And
Yeah.
we're too wrapped up in ourselves to do that.
Yeah.
There's
Paying
a
attention to it is
yeah,
very critical.
there's a wonderful story from a philosopher um, from England, just not a contemporary person, not some ancient person who said, I'm sitting at my desk and everything is just feeling overwhelming. I can't get this right. I can't get that right. I can't do that. And I turn and look out my window, and there is a hawk circling. And I watch the hawk for 2 minutes, and I have left that agitated self behind
Yes.
and become another person, and I can go back to my work. 2 minutes.
Yep. Yep. And that's what we try to also encourage folks to recognize, especially when we talk about self-care and what are some of those 2, 3 minute things that you
Yeah,
can do that is going to get you into that better space where
yeah,
you can kind of move on, shift your thinking, shift your feeling, and calm back down so that, yeah, you can continue throughout your day in a better space, right? And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
what are those little things? And that's a perfect example of simply just looking out your window, and observing nature.
How simple is it? Yeah,
Yeah, or I
yeah.
always say, like, I'm in the car. I like to turn up my music really loud and sing
There you
to a
go.
really great song, and that helps with putting me in a better mood. Or even,
Yeah,
looking at a photo of my loved ones, or a video on my phone of like one of the people that I love. Just doing that to kind of just center and balance ourselves. I think it's so important that we think
yeah.
about how we can do that throughout the day and then really be intentional about it when we feel like, oh my
Well,
gosh, I'm
I
getting to
mean,
that point.
there's a ton of science, about what it does for our mental health and our physical health to experience awe and beauty.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take a long time, you know. 10 minutes outside, 10 minutes going for a walk, you know.
That's
and
it.
can shift you and in the direction you'd probably like to go. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
The
those things are very, very
yeah.
important. And, I think well, not the last thing, but another way that we can focus on building our resilience, especially in the lives of the kids that are in our lives, is just really thinking about this family time as almost being like a security blanket, right? Like protecting your family. That
Yeah.
time is so critical for kids' brains and their social and emotional development. I mean, just to simply spend some good quality time together. And like I said, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant, but are you having conversations with your kids? Are you spending dinners, eating at the table together, and just simply
Yeah.
having that time together? Are you playing a board game or a card game, at night before you go to bed? I know that's one thing that we like to do. We have some very serious games of Uno in my house.
Okay. Yeah.
But those things too, it can make such a huge difference. And so we need to just slow down sometimes and focus our attention and our energy on our families. And learning life skills together really helps us with figuring out ways that we can do that in very short, sweet ways.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, it all comes back to, can we pay attention?
mhm,
Because that's what's not happening when the kids are just obstacles for you getting whatever it is that you're trying to get done, right? You stop
absolutely.
for 5 minutes and put all your attention there. That's another on the kid. That's another story entirely.
Yeah.
And that positive experience that you're talking about of being felt like you're heard, you're seen, you're loved, you're cared for. 5 minutes, really.
Yeah,
We honestly can all spare that. We may
we
not
can.
think that we can, but if we
We can.
if we ponder on it enough, we'll see that we can.
We can find that time for
Yeah.
sure. And I think one of the greatest things that you can do is raise kids. And so let's really focus on how we're doing that, and make that family time, the connection, a priority.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Okay. Well, let me see. One of the things that I'm thinking about is belonging. This is
Mm,
something that really a theme that I sort of felt was underlying a lot of what you were saying about the family. And so it's not just the family. Again, it's the extended community, and how do we connect in that? What are the anchors that we have in the community as adults, or do we have any? You
yeah,
know, we
it's
have our work usually, but where do we put some attention and some effort that brings us to other people, and
right.
that maybe offers opportunities to help with the kids or bring the kids in.
Absolutely.
It's like we need
That's
to be looking at that.
We really do. And we need to be prioritizing that too in our lives as parents and caregivers. There's the saying that it takes a village, right? And so I
Yeah.
think it is so true. We have kind of gotten into this habit, or it's become a little bit more normalized that we just kind of stay in our bubbles. And that is, I would love to just get rid of that. Like we have to have
Yeah.
this sense of community, whether that is, extended family members, if it's friends, if it's a support group that you belong to, if it's a faith based or like a church organization that you belong to, like who are your, I mean, I kind of touched on this earlier, like who are your people, who are your support
Yeah.
systems
Yeah.
surrounding you and your family. and who do you belong to? Yeah. So
Yeah.
that sense is huge. I also think, especially for our teenagers, that is huge as well. Like that feeling of belonging, them not feeling alone in
Yeah.
what they're going through. And so how can we make sure that kids are also connected to different groups as well? So, are they in sports activities or clubs after school? Do they have for our teenagers, do they have a job after school, and do they have coworkers that they're friends with? Like, who are these groups that they belong to, that they feel like they belong to, and they have this community around them that isn't just their immediate family. Like, who
Yeah.
are the kids that are surrounding, who are the people that are surrounding these kids' lives? That in itself is critical too.
Yeah. And I am from a very tiny family. And we had one child. Um, and what we did was, we had a lot of uncles and aunts who weren't really uncles and aunts. And
Mhm.
so some of them, became real supports and real touchstones for my daughter as she not only as she was growing up, but as she was as she and still is an adult.
Right,
The like connections to her Uncle David, I mean, it just ongoing, love from somebody who's not mom and dad is just
right.
is just so helpful and useful.
Very helpful. Yeah, it definitely takes a village. It takes more than just this immediate family, especially for those of us who don't have that large
Yeah,
extended,
yeah,
family,
yeah.
or
It's
even
it's
that
great.
large
It's
immediate
great
family.
if you do, and if you don't, you got to build it,
Yes.
and you have to be intentional about it, I think.
And it can definitely be built. And so I think, that's one thing that I'd love for folks to know is that you're not alone in this. There are people out there that are,
There are.
that 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 need that connection as well. And so where are those connections in our lives? How can we find them and build that family?
Yeah, totally. So one thing that we were talking about was the things that the ACES Coalition is doing and offering, and I'm wondering if you could talk about those for the audience, and so
Yeah.
that they can sort of get hooked up.
Yeah, so we're really excited. In January of this year, we launched a brand new social media awareness campaign called Resolutions for Resilience. This essentially came out of, thinking about the new year and everyone making all of these grand resolutions, which, mostly focus on, losing weight, eating healthy,
Mhm.
getting more
Yeah,
exercise, some of those kind of things. And a lot of research actually says that setting those resolutions is kind of setting yourself up for failure. It's actually pretty bad for our mental and emotional health. So what we decided to do is just really encourage people that instead of thinking about some of those resolutions and those goals throughout the year, thinking more about how you can increase or really just pay more attention to your mental and emotional well-being. So how can you take care of yourself? And so every month we have focused on a different area. This month, we are focusing on neurodiversity and celebrating those differences. Also, providing our audience with information on how trauma and neurodiversity connect with one another, what it looks like. And so we're really excited we're offering a lot of videos, articles, TED Talks, opportunities all throughout the month of April. So we're really excited for that. So if you're interested in checking that out, we would definitely encourage you to look at our Facebook page. It's the Chester County ACES or ACES Coalition. So find us on Facebook, follow us, and like and share all of our posts. And then also in the month of May, we have May is Mental Health and Trauma Informed Awareness Month. And so we participate in a national campaign called We Heal Us. And as part of that campaign and a part of observing Mental Health and Trauma Informed Awareness Month, we are actually hosting an awareness walk, a mental health and trauma awareness
Hmm.
walk. So that's going to be held on May 29th in the evening at 6:30. We're calling it our Finding Hope Through Resilience Walk. And so we're really excited to be hosting that. It's going to be, we're meeting at the historic courthouse steps in Westchester in the borough.
Great.
Um, we'll have some speakers, we'll have some vendors with resources there. And then we'll take a short walk again just to kind of raise awareness around mental health and trauma. So we're really excited to be hosting that as well.
Yeah, and that
Yeah,
walking is exactly what we're trying to encourage
it's
because it's good
perfect.
for your mental health.
Absolutely. And
Awesome. And yeah.
also just to mention, we can provide trainings and film screenings to essentially any audience here in Chester County.
Hmm.
And we have a bunch of different training opportunities. And so, if anyone is interested in providing some sort of trauma or resilience training to a particular audience, I would just ask that they email me at cmelrath, Melrath, at chesco.org. All of our trainings are free, so they're at zero cost. So if anyone is interested, we would love to provide those trainings to, again, to any audience in Chester County.
All right. Well, we will post all that for you
Perfect.
in the episode notes here. And I have a couple as well
Yes.
for learning life skills together. So upcoming, we have on Saturday the 13th a slow looking program. Together with the Brandywine Museum of Art. And so we're asking parents to bring kids to look at paintings in the a different way than we usually look when we go to a museum, right? We go to a museum, we feel like we have to see everything. We go in there, we start moving from painting to painting, looking, and we really don't get a lot out of it except tired. And so what we're saying is, let's look at 3 or 4 paintings across our time. And then we've got an opportunity for the kids to sit at tables and make collages to respond to what they've seen, to make their own art. And then actually, we're providing coupons for people to be able to go and get a hot chocolate or something like that down in the cafe, which is always a big part of visiting an art
It's
museum,
nice.
right? You gotta do that too, because you need the time to process just and chat and talk with about how you felt, how it was. So yeah, so we'll do that kind of exploration. And then the next Saturday is Earth Day. And we are going to be at the Earth Day celebration at the Upper Mainline YMCA. And that is sponsored by our state senator, Carolyn Comita. And so we will be there handing out all kinds of goodies. So I hope y'all will stop by and experience some of the great exhibits and activities that they have for kids, connecting us to the earth, bringing us
Awesome.
right back to where we started, which was gravity.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Chelsea. This was awesome.
Thank you,
I'm
Don,
really
for
glad we
having
were
me.
able to talk.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye bye.
See ya.